stop on our journey takes us to a place that all of us have heard of, and most of us could use more information about: credit reports and credit scores. One study showed that only 2% of Americans knew their credit score, and only 3% could name the credit bureaus. Knowing the contents of your credit report and knowing your credit score are both important and will help put you in control. Let's start by taking a look at why credit reports and credit scores are important to us. In the last unit, we saw the impact that your interest rate has on the amount that you pay for a loan. So how do lenders decide what interest rate to charge?
Lenders actually use three things: your credit report, your credit score, and their own standards to determine your interest rate and whether they'll give you a loan at all. Credit score is based on what's in your credit report, and your credit report contains information about your credit history. This includes the credit you have or have applied for, how much you owe, and how promptly you've paid. Each one of us has the power to control what kind of interest rates we can get on loans, because it's our financial behavior that determines whether our credit report and credit score are good or bad. The main thing to remember in this unit and throughout this entire course is that we do have the power to change our financial situation, and that includes our credit report and our credit score. A huge amount of information is collected about each one of us, but we can control the accuracy of that information. Credit reports are like a report card of your financial behavior. So who's giving you these report cards, and what kind of information do they include?
Your credit report is one of the things that lenders use to determine whether they'll give you a loan and what they'll charge you for it. There are three traditional credit reporting agencies, or CRAs. They are Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. There are other companies that get information from the big three, repackage it, and resell it, but these three are the only traditional credit reporting agencies. Credit reporting is voluntary. That means lenders don't have to report your information to the CRAs, and not all do. Many of the bills you pay on time usually aren't reported, things like rent, utilities, alimony, and taxes. So what is included in your credit report? Let's take a look. Our credit reports contain personal information like name, social security number, address, and prior addresses. They may contain work history and telephone number. Of course, credit reports also contain information about our credit behavior. Things like when an account was opened and closed, available credit limit, the balance, and whether the account is paid on time. They also contain accounts that have been placed with collection agencies and public records such as legal judgments. Finally, credit reports list the companies that have requested your credit report and when they did so. These are called inquiries.
Everyone in America is entitled to one free copy of his or her credit report every year. That's one free copy from each of the three CRAs. But be careful, there's only one sure way that you'll really get your report for free, and that's by going through what the three CRAs call the central source. The central source was created by the CRAs to comply with the credit report law. You can contact the central source through its internet address, www.annualcreditreport.com, or call 1-877-FACT-ACT. One smart way to use the central source is to get a free credit report from a different CRA every 4 months. This way, you space your 3 free credit reports out over the year, so you'll have an early warning of any fraud or identity theft. The websites of the big three have a lot of helpful information, but watch out. These are for-profit companies, so they're also trying to sell you things that will make them money. One thing they'll try to sell you are credit monitoring services. These services are expensive. If you feel you're at risk for fraud or identity theft, instead of buying an expensive service, you can have a freeze put on your account. You should monitor your credit report regularly. But are credit reports always accurate?
Studies show that 70% or more of all credit reports contain at least one error. Information that's wrong, items that shouldn't appear, or items that should appear but are missing. That's why it's important to correct your credit report. The power of CAR. That's CAR, which stands for correct, add, and remove. You may need to be persistent, but you have the legal right to have errors on your credit report corrected. Not everything is allowed on your credit report. Most negative items that are older than 7 years must be deleted. Bankruptcies can appear for 10 years, but the credit reporting agencies have voluntarily agreed to remove Chapter 13 bankruptcies 7 years after your discharge. You have the right to have outdated items removed from your credit report, but it is beneficial to only have the negative items removed and not positive items.
The Fair Credit Reporting Act, as amended by the Fair and Accurate Credit Transaction Act, is a federal law that tells us what our rights are pertaining to credit reports. This law governs who is allowed to get our credit reports and under what circumstances. And the Fair Credit Reporting Act gives the consumers the right to have errors corrected. You also have the right to add a consumer statement to your credit reports. You can write a 100-word statement telling your side of any credit dispute. This will appear until the matter is resolved. Of course, this video is not intended to give you legal advice. You can only get legal advice from a licensed attorney in your state.
We have the power to correct our credit reports. It's definitely worth the effort to make sure your credit report is accurate. So check for errors and correct, add, and remove your way to accuracy. A great source of information about your consumer rights is the Federal Trade Commission's website. Each CRA also has information about how to correct an error and offers educational materials on their websites.